Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to our live session. So we're here, pretty close to our Nice headquarters, in this beautiful conference room that a couple of nice people let us use. Again, welcome. So a couple of words about what we're going to do. So as you guys know, we are Nice Industries, and we make mostly flasks, leather goods, and Oak Honey Whiskey Tumbler, and the Madison Tumbler, which is this, which is our current Kickstarter. And we're going to talk a little bit about everything that we do, and then we're going to come to discussing how the Madison Tumbler works, and we're going to end with a tasting with 5 different whiskeys, and we're going to discuss them together. So it should be a lot of fun. So just to lay down the ground rules on what we're going to be doing. I want you guys to be as participatory as possible. So ask questions, make comments. We're here for you with any question you might have. Cool. With me here is also my partner Max, who's behind the camera. Maybe you can step out and say hi for 3 seconds.
Hi guys.
That's Max. He'll be behind the camera, but he'll be with us the whole time. And Shota, how do I pronounce your last name?
Koblinidze.
Oh Lord, good luck to us all.
Starts with K.
It does. And Shota is going to be with us throughout the entire process, and he's going to help us a lot with our tasting. He's the manager of one of the biggest whiskey bars in the world, and has quite a bit of experience and a family history with winemaking going back how long?
At least a few centuries.
All right. Well,
Can't say exactly.
exciting stuff. From Georgia, right?
Yeah, I'm from Georgia, the republic, not the state. Let's reduce the confusion. And I come from a family that makes wine. In Georgia, we have about 527 different varieties of grapes from which we make wine.
Cool.
One of them is in my family. And today I'm a head manager, professional manager of a whiskey bar and museum in Tel Aviv, which is one of the biggest whiskey bars in the world that presents about 1,000 different expressions of whiskey, and of course we host everything that is everything basically regarding whiskey
Related.
Yeah.
Very cool. Amazing. All right, so let's just walk us through this. A little bit about what we're going to do. So let's start right off. A little bit about who we are, about what Nice does. So I don't know if you guys can see. So we are about 9 Kickstarter projects deep, and we've been working very hard on perfecting the oak wood experience when it comes to flasks, when it comes to tumblers. So you can see quite a few of them here. So this is our previous project, the Oak Honey Whiskey Tumbler, where we perfected the work. I'm going to be using 2 cameras here, so we'll show it over on this side and over on this side as well. So we've perfected the work that we do with a proprietary honey wax that we make here, and an oak tumbler with a stainless steel base. And we were really excited when this hit the jackpot, and people loved it, and it opened the door for us to understand the oak experience that people really love. And we did an international tasting with that as well. So that's the first one. These are flasks that we make. This is called the long cut. It's a flask that comes with a cup here. There's an internal flask and a wood outside. It's really a beautiful piece. Mm-hmm.
I agree on that.
A little bit hard to close. There you go, Shota. And we make a smaller version. This one happens to be green, but it usually doesn't come in green, which is this one, which we call the uppercut. It looks a little bit like a fist, hence the name. Check it out. Cool.
Quite the weight on it.
Yeah, I think it actually has some liquid in it.
Feels elegant. Yeah.
Cool.
Feels elegant. It's weird to say that.
Cool.
And it feels like a fancy watch. When you pick up a fancy watch, you want to feel the weight.
Nice.
So that's how it feels. I think that's the same.
I like the
it's a
comment.
good allegory. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So that's a little bit about what we've done before, and I'm just taking a look at our itinerary. So 1 second. We're working 3 screens together. So 1 second. Cool. All right. So in a minute, we'll talk a little bit about the wood and how what the experience of having wood does to the whiskey drinking experience, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And also, we're going to discuss the wax that we make, and this is the wax that we make in-house. You can see it here, and we'll discuss why we use the wax on our whiskey tumbler and what that does to it. So before that, I just want to invite you guys to join us everywhere where we have media presence. So we have a Facebook page. Please join us there if you want. We have this YouTube channel that you're more than welcome to join. And we're very, very active on Facebook, but you can definitely join us on all our channels. That includes Instagram. We have a couple of cool opportunities that you'll be able to find there as well. Cool. So let's talk about the tumbler itself. So we're using a tumbler that is all completely one piece of oak. And the reason that we do that is in order to accentuate the taste and to make sure that the taste is made just a little bit more focused as it comes to the nose. And we're going to discuss how we do the tasting with that. So maybe a couple of words about like the history of oak and whiskey and what it does to the fluid itself.
So first of all, the oak casks, as we know them today, they came only from the period of Roman Empire. That was the first time that actually we know anything about it. And it was used mostly for keeping stuff, which between grain, fish, flour, and fruits in general, until eventually, approximately during the 1400s, we hear about oak use in alcohol in general, whether it's eau de vie or brandy eventually, or whiskey, okay, in total. And oak has some kind of property, okay? It has the perfect, optimal, let's call it, not maybe perfect, but optimal fiber density that allows oxygen to go in and to go out. That oxidation process, basically, it's what matures the spirits within. Usually it's supposed to be charred, but of course it's a glass. It's not a glass, it's a cup or a tumbler. Right. Shall we call it as it is? And in every case of spirit making, when you use the oak is responsible on above 80% of the quality, okay, of the aromas, of pigments, of the spirit itself. Okay, so that's the most important part. If you choose your oak carefully if you are intending to use it.
So the oak really decides the character of the whiskey.
It basically decides everything.
Everything.
Yeah, the most common, it's more it's more important for this, if we're gonna talk about this product, that the most common cask in the whiskey making industry, it's American white oak, because usually when the bourbon manufacturers, they finish maturing their own whiskey, by regulation they have to use always new American oak.
Right.
So basically after they use their oak, after they mature their bourbons, they sell it all over the world, okay, to Japan, to India, to Israel, to Ireland, Scotland, and so forth, and to feel the fabric, to feel the aromas, and to feel the origin and the heart of what makes whiskey.
Yeah.
Is quite surprising. And by the way, this is a tumbler that I took, I don't know, a few weeks ago, for the first time that I was introduced with it. And I drank not once, not twice from it. I had to explore because it was such a different experience for me, and something that I was thinking with my own thoughts of how it didn't exist before, which is the best thing to think, I think.
Cool.
When you're presented with something new.
I think it might be worth noting that, I mean, there are wood tumblers out there. This isn't the first wood tumbler that we made that is made out there, but this is the only oak tumbler that has this top ring to it. And the reason that we do it, and we discussed this in the Kickstarter video, is in order to make a separation between the tasting experience and the sipping itself. In other words, you have like a neutral palate and oak from within. So that is unique, but it's also not the first oak tumbler that we've made, but there aren't many out there, that's for sure.
That's, of course, I'm also familiar with this. I wouldn't say necessarily that it's one is better than the other, in my opinion.
No, this is
personally.
very different.
They're a bit different from each other. It's a bit different experience. This is more, let's say, elegant, and this is more, let's say, rural. Let's call it, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe that's the thing.
Cool.
And a thing that I wanted to note, actually, when I pick up this tumbler and sniff it even after heavy usage of the bee wax, which is, I don't know, maybe the most ancient way of layering your drinking equipment.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we're gonna go back with the horns, they also.
Yeah, that's actually something that we wanted to touch on. If you could talk a little bit about that. So why don't we go like 2 steps back? I was planning on talking about this a little bit later, but we finished the Oak Honey whiskey tumbler and the Madison tumbler with a proprietary wax that we make in-house. And we do this for 2 reasons. One is to be able to seal the wood on the inside so that because again, as Shota mentioned, it's a very porous wood. So this creates like a barrier from within. And also it helps bring out the taste from the oak. So we spoke about this a little bit earlier. There is a history of using beeswax in the alcohol industry and with whiskey specifically.
In general, until we were able to human peoples, civilizations,
human beings,
human beings, those engineers. Before they were able to create glass cups or any kind of basically tool to drink with, they were mostly drinking with horns.
Horns,
of various animals that possess horns, I guess.
And they use beeswax on the inside to seal it.
Usually beeswax because that's the most oldest way of making wax. And there are a few properties to wax, by the way, that it's antioxidant and it preserves everything basically that it touches or surrounds, which is good.
Cool.
But in this section, the honey notes actually really pop out, but not too much. They don't take all the stage. They just frame everything within. And I like the idea that I can control the amount of the wax that I put inside, so to create a better balance with the specific drinks.
We've had quite a few people ask about that and about applying the wax. Before we get to people's questions, we had questions before from our Kickstarter backers about using the wax. So why don't we take a step back just for a second and talk about how we use the wax on the tumbler, and then we'll get into the tasting, if that's cool. Yeah?
I'm with you.
So let's do this. We did this in a previous video, but it's worth doing again. This one is unused. This is the one that we had before. So with your tumbler, you will get this kit. You get a kit that includes wax in it, probably a smaller version of this. And this has wax that you can take out with your finger. And we have a previous video where we discuss how we use the wax on the tumbler, but I want to stress a few things that are very important. So we've had quite a bit of experience using this wax now, and you can use either this, which is, we provide you with sandpaper that also has some foam on the back of it. You can use this, and I would highly recommend that you actually use your fingers as opposed to this, and here's why. You can take the wax itself, you see there's a little bit here, and you put it inside. And when you use your finger, then you have better coverage. And you can just do this for about 10 minutes. And if you do this for 10 minutes, this will seal your tumbler for a really long time, like for a year. And obviously depending on how much you drink. And it's really, really important to do this as part of your maintenance routine. It doesn't have to be like every time you drink, not at all. But you can do this once every so often, and it will help your tumbler age and become much more
robust.
Yeah, like it's also robust and also have like a nice finish to it,
So if I may add to that,
please go ahead.
That's what I started when I took the tumbler out. That's what I wanted to say, that After a heavy usage, and trust me, heavy usage, my liver screams out. But it actually, right now, the tumbler is empty. But when I sniff it, I feel some kind of sense of I don't know, a wine cellar, perhaps.
Yeah.
Really, it really sucks in, it really stays, but it doesn't destroy any other spirit that you're gonna drink.
Yeah.
If you're one solo spirit drinker, by the way, I think it's gonna be the only tool that you're gonna use for the drink.
Cool.
I have to be forward with that. That was the first thing that popped up in my head. That maybe I'm gonna keep it with one specific bottle that I really like and.
That's a good idea.
Stick with it. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So I'm just aware that we're not going to be able to do this forever. So let's get on with our tasting, right? Okay. So this is all you, Shota. So you lead the way, and maybe we can also guide people through best practices for tasting as well.
I'm with you. As people say here, yalla. So. We have a bunch of bottles. We're gonna present them. We're gonna drink them, of course. That's a good thing to do. This comes from Kentucky, bourbon. It's a brand of quite nice bourbon, but it's not a bourbon. It's a brand of bourbon, the bullet itself. But this specific version is 97% rye. 95%, I'm terribly sorry. And the thing with the bourbon industry, as I've said before, it's that they use only new American white oak. And this is, my friends, American white oak. So I think it's a good first go.
Cool.
You drink also, right?
Yeah, please, yeah. I'm not driving home. Or maybe I am driving home. I want to rest for a while before I go.
Yeah. You have to be responsible.
Cool.
So, every degustation in general, if you wanna try to appreciate the drink that you are holding, I don't know, at your work, in your house, in your lover's place, I don't know. There are three phases: nose, palate, finish. The nose is always the most important part because we have tens of thousands of receptors in our head. That can interpret different tones of aroma. While in our palate we have only 4 distinguished tastes, okay, that we can feel, which is sweet, salty, bitter, and sour. We have the 5th one from Far East comes. It's called umami. It's mostly like monosodium glutamate. If you're familiar with it, it's a specific particle, but mostly it enhances flavors and gives a texture angle on everything. So the combination of taste. Well, texture also, but and the aroma creates flavor, and that's what we wanna get out of what we're drinking, the flavor. So, because our left nostril feels a bit differently from our right one, I always advise to put both of the nostrils, stick them into the glass tumbler.
I'm going to turn the camera to you a little bit so that everyone can see this.
I think it's better.
Yeah.
And play with the angle a bit, okay? Let the left nostril fill and let the right one fill, okay? Both nostrils gonna feel something different. They're gonna pick up a bit different notes, and try to concentrate in at least 3 different associations that pop up in your head. Okay, that's what you do. That's the first thing you do. Then we're gonna take a sip. I feel a bit, I don't know, cinnamon. Do it with me, please. And
Of course, one second.
Say what you feel. No problem. It's a busy place. I feel cinnamon, a bit, maybe a peel of citrus, and maybe a bit of honey.
Seriously.
But it's more fresh. If I would put it in a glass, I would feel it more harsh on the nose. It's really.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. Slanjava.
Slanjava.
So actually, in this case, because I'm well familiar with this brand, and I drink it, I actually talked about it a lot and drink it a lot. It mellows it down. It makes it be a bit more soft than it is from the get-go. Doesn't change the finish as much, because we felt the texture, by the way. That's the second phase, to feel the body of the whiskey. Is it feisty? Is it soft? Is it mellow? Does it touch all my taste glands, only part of them, and so forth? So that's how we determine small body, medium body, full body whiskey in general. Okay, and when we sip, by the way, leave your mouth a bit open and exhale through your nose, because we want to channel the feed from the stomach through those lines that know to read the information that we are interested in, which is nose, aroma, and palate flavor. Okay, and then we count if the finish is long or short. That's the basics of how you should degustate the whiskey. Cool. So in this case, the finish is actually softer and more. The viscosity is more dense. You feel it almost like a honey. Cool. But only in retrospect.
Okay. Do you want to try another one and see if we can compare?
Of course. Of course. Let's wash it a bit. Now
it's so weird tasting water in this after you taste it.
Actually, I'm surprised that the water still stays more or less neutral. It has slight tone to it, but not too much, which is the perfect amount, at least in my opinion.
Nice.
Of course, you can. I understand this difference. You see, in this, he used. I don't know if you
we just put the wax on now.
Yeah, and he put the load inside.
That is true.
As opposed to mine. Yeah.
That is true.
Mine is clear.
That is true.
So maybe that's the difference. So now we're gonna try Skapaskiren, okay, which comes from the Isle of Orkney, a legendary Nordic isle in Scotland, the most northern isle in the inner Hebridean or outer Hebridean Isles. It is made
very different.
Yes, it has more.
Very,
it's also,
very
by the way, the biggest influence on this bottle.
White oak as well.
White oak, but in here, because it's single malt and it is made solely from grain, from barley, from malt, and it is distilled twice and so forth and so forth. So it is a bit more gentle and it gives out a bit more of the wood itself. And
so interesting. It's such a different experience.
What do you feel?
Well, this is coming from a novice, so feel free to laugh at me.
No. Every answer is the correct answer.
It feels much more woody. It smells like. Oh God, I'm gonna get laughed at like crazy. It feels like wet woods outside, like a forest.
Okay, so maybe a bit of malt, a bit salty. Touch to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So basically, first of all, if that's what you feel, that's the correct answer. There's no right or wrong in it. It's a self-experience, you know. It depends on when you grow up, what kind of food your grandmother or your mother would make.
Yeah, fair enough.
Everything is different, but basically the influence here from the American oak, from the get-go, it's citrus peel.
Yeah.
A high note of citrus peel, almost like it's sugared roasted, maybe orange peel. A bit salty notes to it. The salt comes actually from the sea, from the ocean.
Here's a question.
The humidity.
I just recently read about people who age their casks on ships. They take them out on ships. Yeah.
That's a bourbon. Yeah.
Bourbon. Yeah.
And actually, they took a big platform on the water. I don't know how to say it. The thing that goes from island to island.
Like a barge.
Big raft, yeah.
A barge.
Big, yeah. So it's basically a barge, and the distillery keeps the barrels on that platform, and it's during the maturation period it sucks the salt from the humidity of the sea, and it gives it almost entirely different tone to the whiskey itself, because you really feel the spicy tones to it, the mineral deposits. You feel it.
So I'm wondering when talking about this, exactly. So this, well, obviously the whiskey is only in here for a very short amount of time. So I'm wondering what this might have the experience when it comes to tasting it and smelling it at the same time. Cool.
Actually, I'm
Very different.
quite surprised that
Very different.
when I drink at home with a cigarette or a cigar or something, you know,
Yeah.
I'm just sitting and drinking and having fun. But now, when it's a bit more formal, I actually feel how
Not that formal.
yeah, not that,
Yeah.
but still a bit more. You know,
Yeah.
I have to think. I
Yeah.
can't just bleh.
Fair enough.
So
Yeah.
it actually makes the whiskey a lot softer. I'm not adding any drop of water, nothing, no ice, no nothing, and it is softer. It's quite unique. That's new.
Very
even
cool.
for me.
Very cool. Sorry, I'm just trying to keep us all on the same page, so my notes are here. So bear with me. Sorry. Second.
Meanwhile,
So you want to pour the second one, and I'll be right with you. 1 second.
Good.
Cool.
In Soviet tradition, you don't stop on the second.
Oh Lord, when do you stop?
Gotta have a bit more. So, meanwhile, I'm gonna say a few words about this distillery. One of my favorites personally because of the man behind everything, David Stewart. Basically, this is the guy who, which is today the malt master of Belvini, master distiller and blender. And it was until 2009 of Glenfiddich, which is one of the biggest distilleries out there. So this guy, David Stewart, he invented the finish in the whiskey world. Okay, until him, no finish. After him, finish. That's crazy because most of the whiskeys today they have a finish, which I hope you know what it means. But if not, you can ask and we shall answer. And this went through two different casks. Sorry. American white oak in the beginning, barrels, if I'm not mistaken. Don't catch me on the word, as I say. We said it's not as formal, but 208 liters of content within each barrel of American bourbon.
Cool.
And the second cask is Oloroso Sherry. Okay, sherry is a kind of fortified wine. It comes from the Jerez Triangle in Spain. And it gives more deeper layer to the whiskey itself. It dyes the whiskey to more amber color, and that's the first different. I already put. That's the first different tone that we're gonna feel here, which is supposed to give us more. You know what? You tell me.
Okay. Don't put me on the spot, but okay, fine.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that we're a little short on time, right, Max? Figure we have about another 15 minutes, maybe at the most. A little less. Okay, so we have 3 to get through, and we'll try to do it each one for like 3 minutes, so that we can get through our entire sample.
No problem.
All right, let's see. Sanjala.
Slide it up.
Oh wow, it's like a totally different experience every time.
Yeah, because there are different whiskeys, but we chose correctly.
Okay, very different experience. I'm really not sure what to say. There's something it's a little sweeter to me. Something feels. I'm not explain what a finish means to me so that I can understand, because maybe that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, finish in degustation period, it means in the degustation process, it means the lingering flavor that stays after you finish the last sip. Okay.
Because that feels very strong here.
It is very strong because, as I've said, the finish regarding the whiskey as an expression, it means that 100% of this bottle went through American white oak and finished at least for 2 months, 3 months, 8 months, 2 years, depends on the distillery, in Oloroso Sherry butts, which are containing 500 liter casks.
Cool.
And it is made of not American white oak, it is made of Cocos rubur, it's called. It's European oak, Spanish.
Okay, I just want to make sure that everyone here knows that we want to hear your comments, so please feel free. We have a couple of questions that we want to attend to, but before we do, please feel free to put all your comments in here so that we can attend to them. I want to make sure that we have you guys participating as much as possible. So we'll get to your questions and comments as we go. Sound good? Cool.
This comes from Japan. Really, Japan is like a really hot thing. It's sexy thing to have and to drink in general. So this is a blended whiskey, but it's quite unusual for the Western world because it is made of 75% malt, single malts, various, and 25% of corn. And by the way, corn doesn't dissolve to ethanol, to spirit, so it is only solely for flavor here, or maybe to add a bit more quantity of liquid. I don't know what they decided. And it went through 3 different casks: French oak, ex-red wine French oak, American and European oak.
Cool. Let's give it a shot.
It's entirely different from everything else that we tried.
Sanjiao.
I don't know how you say it in Japanese, but I don't know.
It's like a world tour. Again, very, 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 very different. This is like a thinner taste. It feels like it's a little bit like.
I think that it hits the spot even better. You should do this live stream in Japan.
In Japan. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I think we have a couple of people in Japan who are turning in now. I'm not sure how to explain it, but very, very different. You definitely feel like the oak influence on everything, but this.
No, it stays in the background. I'm sure that if we would, not sure. I know from experience that if you pour the whiskey, and I'm not drinking with small sips. I don't think anybody. So you put it until something up to here.
Yeah.
You put it aside, and you sip gently. With I don't know what you're doing at home.
Yeah.
And it differs. The flavor differs when it is soaked. It depends on the usage of the tumbler itself. So it has a very different development of character. It has development.
Interesting. So I'm just going to move us along because I think we just have about 7 minutes till we're done. So let's head to our last one, right?
So last one. I'm gonna open.
Was it?
Right now.
Okay. So we have a bit more time.
So this is Royal Laphroaig. Was called Laphroaig until the Queen Victoria tried it. Said it's one of the most softest whiskeys that she ever tried, and she liked it a lot. Yata. They have a royal stag on them. It means that the royal family drinks this.
Very nice.
It's a main component in Blue Label. I hope they're here. They maybe we can get royalties or something.
There you go.
We have
there you go. Or maybe we'll have to pay someone some royalties.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, man. Cheers.
Cheers.
I think you may have the best job in the world.
I have to agree. My joke is always that.
This is what you do all day.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
You bastard. You bastard.
No, the only thing that I'm trying to find in Kickstarter, a project that supplies second-hand livers. If I have that, I'm set for life.
I don't think you'll be able to find it. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
I heard about the 3D printers that they're having their way.
Amazing.
Well, you know what? I think the Japanese one was better, like the most, I don't know, influenced by the tumbler, but I think I like this the most. So, with your permission,
You have it.
I would share it.
You have it.
Thank you. Maybe Max, would you like to?
Yeah, I can have a drink.
It's amazing, it still stays inside, you know? And it's quite surprising that even we drank 5 whiskeys right now, right? No, six glasses but 5 whiskeys. 6 portions but 5 whiskeys, because it's not a glass and I have to get it out of my head. It's live stream, so you hear it. And it still stays quite neutral. I mean, the other whiskeys don't really influence on the second ones, the other ones that come after. Quite, it's a good patent, I have to say. Not patent maybe, but it's a good invention, good craft.
I'll take design.
Design, okay. You'll take design, the craftsman will take the craft, and
Very cool.
the drinker will say thank you.
Cool. So let me just see. Sorry, I'm trying to keep us of using the Madison Oak Tumbler with the whiskeys. What would you say? What would be your? I don't think there's one conclusion, but what would you say?
It's full wood. It's something that gives the whiskey its purpose and name. It's not only for whiskey, by the way. We're talking about only on whiskey, but you can drink cognac from it, and Armagnac, or any kind of brandy, or even Porto or Midera or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, we've actually had people ask about that for about our tumbler, and it's very true. We actually brought some different alcohol that can be used with the tumbler, and it's true. You can use it. People have asked about cognac. People have asked about gin, and you can drink any kind of spirit out of it.
The only thing that I'm gonna say, if you're gonna drink, for example, a high-end vodka from it, I'm not talking about Belvedere or Beluga, because they have certain kind of distinguished flavors. But in general, vodka is not more or less, the highest quality of vodka. It's neutral. Okay, It has no odor, has nothing. If you're gonna drink with this, the odorless spirit, of course you're gonna have a lot more influence from the tumbler itself, which is not necessarily bad, but you have to understand that there's a different usage. If we're gonna talk about anything that was actually matured in oak, and I'm a big cigar smoker, so I usually smoke my cigars, don't tell anybody, but not with whiskey or cognac, but with port, okay, usually.
Cool.
And I found myself drinking more and more port from this because I like the way it feels in my hand. Okay, I actually feel like on the nose after I sip, or when I nose it when the tumbler is wet.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in a cellar. I feel back at home when watching my grandfather making wine, or helping him in the process.
Cool.
And it actually brings those things back. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a winemaker to actually feel it, because every time you open a cork, every time you go to a fancy wine shop or fancy restaurant in which you have those kind of gimmicks, you actually feel those notes, those tones. And this is not something that can be replicated, I think, because that's something that you can feel either from a fine wine. And I know that there's huge discussion in, especially in social medias, about cheap wine is tastier than expensive wine. Yes, it might be more tasty, but the properties of the wine itself and the way that it matured and so forth are entirely different. I'm not gonna say that I can distinguish between two 100% of the time, but let's leave it aside. It was too much. It was a personal thing. Sorry. So you feel it. And the thing about nose aroma is that it's somewhere here. That's where we interpret aromas.
Yeah.
And this side, okay, it is also responsible of memories and emotions. So we attach
smell, taste, and memory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and it's spontaneous. You can't control it.
Right, of course.
Once you feel it, you don't. Many times the nose is the trigger, but you don't even know it. It's like you're walking around the street. I don't know. You sense something.
Yeah.
And you start to think about your kindergarten or high school or your first lover, or I don't know what.
Right.
And it comes from the nose. So this is what it does. It amplifies everything.
Cool. All right. Why don't we get to some questions that the folks had? I'll see. Maybe I'll answer some of them, depending on what they have, and we'll just try to go one by one. Cool. All right. Let's show the question to the audience as well. So for everyone watching on YouTube, we're just answering questions that folks had from Kickstarter. Okay. Cool. So J-Sai asks, if not using ice, what type of water would you recommend? What type of water would you recommend is best to dilute the whiskey? Well, as far as what would you say? That's more of a question for you, I think.
The best thing to do is distill water, meaning no minerals, to not change the flavor. But the thing that I believe in is use any kind of water you have.
Mm-hmm.
You can use few drops, and it's enough to pop out the aesthetic oils. And you can use 50-50, like dilute it 50-50, 50 water, 50 whiskey, and still okay. So
cool.
don't worry about it.
I want to add to that question. Folks have asked about using ice with the oak whiskey tumbler, and it's very important to note it is very temperature sensitive. In other words, if it contracts and then it expands and contracts and expands, it will crack. So don't do it. Don't. Am I right?
Actually, he told me when he gave me the glass, he told me that don't drink tea from it. I had to drink tea from it.
Yeah.
I drank tea from it.
No good.
Not as bad, but yeah, not advice.
Actually, there are, like, if you guys are into mate comes in stuff that looks like this, but it's actually not made of oak. Oak is very, very porous. So, cool. Jeanette asks, can you give us a couple of names of good whiskeys to drink? Shota.
Wow, you have so much. If you're
Give folks 5.
5, okay. If we're gonna go, okay, let's say Irish. I'm gonna go from a middle shelf, not the highest, not the lowest, okay? Jameson Black Barrel, fantastic finish with a heavily charred oak. Glendronach, 12 years old. It is finished in Oloroso in Pedro Jimenez sherry. Go and find it. It is. It might disappear from the market as we know it today. One of the best whiskeys, in my opinion. In Japan, go. You know what? Go with Iwai. I really like this because it's. I don't know from where is she. Do we know the country?
Jeanette. My guess is Jeanette is from the States, but I'm not
From
sure.
the States, so it's approximately $50, $40, if I'm not mistaken, for one bottle. I think it's a good value for money if you're looking for something more interesting. In bourbon section, Woodford Reserve is one of my most favorites, or Four Roses single barrel. It depends on how heavy do you like your tones. And Laphroaig. PX. Laphroaig is a peated whiskey that comes from the Isle of Isla, and the Pedro Jimenez is sweetest kind of sherry wine that they make. Excellent finish, really fruit, robust flavors, and heavy smoke in between.
Cool. All right, Yo Dog says, I love the name.
Yeah. Yo Dog.
Does the tumbler absorb the essence from the beverage, and does it affect subsequent usage? Well, I'll try to answer that a little bit. It does just slightly. So the whole idea of having an oak tumbler is that it gives the whiskey certain oaky tones to it. And in order to help with that, we have the wax, and the wax helps both seal the tumbler, as we explained before, and also to bring out the oak flavors.
If I may add,
Yeah,
small thing.
please do.
By the way, this thing is unique because yes, it takes slightly the essence of what you drink, but it basically comes to you as a slick page, okay, empty page, and you give it the character. So it really varies from what you drink, from what I drink, and I don't know who. So you give it the character, and trust me, if you're gonna drink stuff that you like, you're always gonna have fun with it. That's the character it's gonna have.
And here's a question that was made for you. How would you compare the tumbler to the Glencairn glass?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, if I have to degustate the whiskeys professionally, I wouldn't use this. That's 100% clear, I hope. But when I'm drinking at home, when I'm relaxing after work, before work, I have those days too. This is a quite fun experience. It's not making. I don't have to make cocktail or mixed drink like old fashioned or Boulevardier or whatever. I can just take this and enjoy from a slightly different angle. So from something that I already like. That's the best way that I can put it in. I hope it was sufficient.
Yeah, I think so. All right, so I think it's time for us to wrap up, right, Max? I think we're just about out of
More
time.
questions?
That's the questions that we have. I think there may be one more. I think that's it. I think we had 4 questions.
Okay.
And that's it. So usually at this point we give you guys a chance to ask more questions if you have them. But I think that that's what we have. So I'll give
Because
you.
we were so informative,
Oh man, well,
we demolished everything. Yeah.
seriously.
It's a good job.
So if you have more questions, please feel free. This is going to be up on our Kickstarter page and also up on YouTube. A few of you guys have asked to have it up everywhere so that you can have access to it. So it will be. If you have any questions, please feel free. We are here. Our email is going to be up with this post. You can see us on YouTube. We're up on Facebook as well. And you can, of course, follow us on Instagram. All right. I think we're done, right, Max? All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.